So a few days ago, um, my wife suffered an extremely serious, traumatic head injury. We were skating at a public skate as a family. Um, my wife is a very seasoned, trained skater. She did figure skating growing up, and she's actually a better skater than I am. I played hockey a lot, but I was a goaltender, so I never really developed a graceful stride, let's put it that way. But she's an amazing skater, and we were out skating with the family, all 5 of my children. 2 of them were in the stroller. My mother-in-law was with us. Thanks be to God she was there. And the flukiest type of fall you could ever imagine. It's even hard to explain. But she fell in a way, slew-footed. I was standing beside her, and she was basically horizontal with the ground, and the full force of her inertia made it that her head cracked on the ice, and she was out cold, unresponsive. It was hard to find a pulse. We couldn't find it for a bit, and then she started going into a very significant seizure event. It was extremely terrifying. And then blood was pouring out of the back of her head. Turns out she suffered a skull fracture and brain bleeding and a serious contusion on her brain. There was a bit of time, though, there in those minutes or so when she was unresponsive and having this event on the ice, where I was worried that my wife was going to die. I remember when she wouldn't respond, when we couldn't find a pulse, when the blood was pouring out of the back of her head. I thought my wife was dead. And my children were around, as were many people. And it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever been through in my life. There was a moment, though, within that short amount of time, which, even though chronologically wasn't very long, but felt like forever, where, as strange as it might sound, I was filled with a sort of consolation. I did the sign of the cross, and in a weird internal way, I basically resigned everything to the will of God, and I thought, if this is it, this is it. And I was filled in a way with a sense of peace, because my wife had just been to confession a couple days before. We had just prayed the rosary that day as a family. I know she's a good Christian woman, and I know that she loves Jesus. And as terrifying as that moment was, there was something about the moment where I thought, if my wife dies right now, then she will die in friendship with the Lord Jesus Christ. And as terrifying as it was, that's how we ought to die. Now, thankfully, she didn't die. And surprisingly, talking to the doctors, as bad as it was, it seems like she's going to make a full recovery. In fact, we're pretty certain she will. And she's been discharged from the hospital. And, she's basically now at this point going to be dealing with a pretty wicked concussion, which has its own problems, and it's never certain how that will work out. But she has her memories. She's speaking clearly. Although she is dizzy, she is able to walk around and do what she has to do. Although she has to sleep most of the day, which is good, because that's how the brain heals. But I realized a couple things, over the last couple days. I haven't slept very much since it happened. A lot of adrenaline. That the first night that it happened, I was so worried that she was going to die in her sleep that I didn't sleep. I went to bed at 4 a.m. for a couple hours or something, and I just wanted to hear her breathe, And I realized basically two things, or I had sort of two aspects of this whole affair that have stuck with me. The first thing is the point of our faith is death. The point of living a Christian life, even if it's, it's difficult. You can hear my dog over there. Jack, stop that. The point of living the Christian life is because you will die. And I can imagine, telling this story to an atheist or something, and they might think, some religion, you do all this stuff, you live this way, you avoid all these things, you don't do these things or that things, and you're so restricted in all the things that you do, and you spend all this time praying the rosary and going to church and fasting and all this kind of stuff. But look, your sky daddy didn't protect you now. And it's just, atheists are so foolish. They don't understand the faith. They don't understand. Nowhere in Scripture does it say that if you follow the commandments, your life will be easy. In fact, pretty much every single example we have from Scripture and from church history is that if you really try to follow Christ, you'll probably suffer a lot. But that's the point, isn't it? The point is to suffer well and to die well. That's kind of my first point. And then my second point, my second aspect that I have stuck with me is kind of multifaceted, but I'll do my best to be concise. Husbands, you need to cherish your wives. I'm not saying you don't, but I'm just saying, I thought I did. My wife is an amazing woman. Not only is she drop dead gorgeous, and let's be honest, she's way above my pay grade in that arena, but she's the woman from Proverbs 31. Excuse me. She's everything. She's everything from that ideal woman from Scripture. What she does for the children, what she does for me, what she does for God. And the whole point of being a husband is to live as Christ lived and serve your bride as Christ served the church. And that means no matter the cost, you ensure that your wife is led to salvation. It's on Sunday at Mass. My wife is recovering. She's recovering right now, and some family members are helping take care of her. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get out of the house, take the kids to Mass, give my wife time to rest, and all these kinds of things. And after receiving Holy Communion, I honestly just started to cry. Or I guess, yeah, I started to cry. Because I thought about when we first got married, I've talked about this a little bit in my book, Terror of Demons, but, I wasn't a Christian. I wasn't a practicing Christian when we first got married, and I was not leading her towards the faith. And I thought about how much of an injustice that is. Can you imagine standing before God at your judgment as a man? And it being made very clear to you that you failed your spouse and your children. Of course, when people grow up, they're going to make choices, and many good parents have led their children to the faith. And, you know, children, when they grow up, they make their wrong choices, and that's part of life, and that's sort of the mystery of iniquity, and we deal with it. But, you see, part of the reality of headship as a man is the added responsibility of those who are under your care. And this is how hierarchy works. You know, if you're the leader of an organization, if the organization fails, it's your fault. Even if the people under you have free will, you still get the axe when they have to change things up, because your job is to lead them. And if you're a man and you're living in a way that could be of detriment towards the salvation of your family members, of your wife and your children, this is a heinous crime. And you could be out skating. You could be on your rollerblades. You could be out on your bike. Your wife could just be walking on the sidewalk in the winter and slip on some ice. And she could be gone. And if you haven't led her to Christ, how could you ever deal with that? I don't know. Nothing else in this life matters besides that. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how many accolades you get. It doesn't matter how many honors you have. The entire purpose of everything that you do and will ever do for the rest of your life regarding your wife has to do with that moment when she dies. It's like when Christ is standing in front of Pilate, and Pilate definitely has an authority, but Christ says, you know, the greater sin is the one above you, is for the one above you, because he is the authority. I'm paraphrasing. The more responsibility you have, the greater insistence there must be on serving those who are under your care. So, husbands, go find your wife right now. Give her a hug and a kiss. Go buy her some flowers. But most importantly, if you're a man and you're married, and there's anything in your life that is a detriment to your own sanctification, to your own righteousness, to your own holiness, it is a crime against your spouse if you don't deal with that. If you have a pornography addiction, if you have a problem with the various concupiscence factors, and if you're an alcoholic, or if you're unmotivated, if you're not saying your prayers, if you're not living in a state of grace, the fish rots from its head, is the expression. Your family won't make it if you're not going to make it. And before you know it, you could be on vacation, your wife is walking around the pool and slips and cracks her head open and she dies. She could be going to the grocery store and she gets hit by a drunk driver and she's gone. cherish your wives, and show that you cherish your wives by cherishing your God. And at the end of the day, no matter if you die poor, living in a van down by the river, as Chris Farley used to say, as long as you're living in a state of grace and your spouse is living in a state of grace, then you will receive an eternal reward that is greater than anything you could ever imagine. And all of the hardships in this life mean nothing. Not a single stress or sacrifice is too great. I imagine my wife will watch this, so sweetie, I love you very much. And if you could, viewers, please pray for my spouse. And wives, pray for your husbands that they have the strength to lead you. And husbands, pray to God that you will, if calamity befalls you, as terrifying as it can be, that you'll be in a position where you could have the consolation of knowing that no matter what happens, that you've led your wife to Christ. God bless you all, and please pray for my wife.